And when I say they want to shoot their dad, they want to shoot their dad. They're like, Dad, please shut up, put on the music, no more business lessons. But I'll talk to them, if Facebook is down 5 points, I would tell them, hey, are you a big believer in Instagram and Facebook long term? And here's why, the market went down, and I'll try to explain that. With our real estate, I would say there's gonna come a time where that is way gone, and some really smart guys that are knocking your doors and wanna buy your real estate. You say no. Remember what Dad said, we never sell our real estate.
But aren't they thinking, Dad, because you're A-Rod, we're set for life. We don't need these lessons.
There is some of that, but I mean, to your point, we gotta spend time with our kids. We have to talk to them. We watch Shark Tank, right? There's certain things you can do. It's hard, you gotta have a bank shot, right? You gotta have fun, and at the same time, you hope they get entertained. They like being with you, but they're also learning something.
How much do you find guys are insecure, whether it's, look, different guys get what they want out of college, they get what they want out of high school, the minor leagues, you can certainly learn lessons. But is there an insecurity with a lot of young guys or a lot of athletes who just look around and go, I don't know if I'm smart enough to handle this, so I'm gonna actually throw money at something, I'm gonna have a false bravado, because there's probably something deep down that says, I gotta be honest, I'm scared as hell, but I'm not gonna be the first one to say it out loud.
I think you hit the nail on the head. A lot of it is fear. And if you think about the private equity, the Wall Street, the hedge fund world, they're always collaborating. So the 5 of us are hedge fund guys, we're emailing each other 3 times a week. What's going on in China? What's going on in Miami? What's going on with interest rates? What are you hearing? Right? Because ultimately we have a fiduciary duties to our LPs to basically go out and invest money, and we want to be well informed. The opposite is true in sports. We never reach out to each other, we never collaborate. A lot of it is because we have our crew, we have our business manager. Ultimately, everybody doesn't want you getting close to anybody because they want to protect their cage, right? That is a big problem. For whatever reason, I've always had this blind spot, for good or worse. I would always say, I have no idea what you're talking about. Can you explain it to me like I'm a 3rd grader? Okay, can you do that again? One more time. One more time. And I will sit there and ask 15 times until I truly understood it. And I don't know if that's stupid, naive, or whatever. It's been very helpful for me as I try to educate myself.
I just think that I've seen bravado. I've seen a lot of bravado in a lot of locker rooms, and I've talked to guys, and I just think part of what, do I fit in this room? Well, if I don't fit, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna walk with my chest out a little bit further, and now they're gonna like me, or they're going to involve me. And Joe, I don't know if you dealt with any of that stuff, but there's probably a part that says, I don't know what those guys are talking about, so I'm not going anywhere near the conversation, when you should actually be running to that conversation to try to talk to people who can enhance your life after the game.
I mean, that's always locker room talk amongst some of the players, as far as what they're doing business-wise and what they're doing off the court. That's always some locker room talk. Like you said, I was one of those players, sometimes in, sometimes out, which I should have realized now that I should have been in a lot more than out. So that's one fault that I can't say, I put on my back as far as not being able to, or not being the guy that goes into those type of conversations as much as often as I should have.
Did you call Warren Buffett's office?
Yeah,
Is that a story?
cold.
Yeah.
Cold. Someone told me that he was, almost when I signed with the Braves, I ended up signing with Texas, the Rangers in 2001. And I found out that he did a portion of my contract, he insured it. So I said, oh my God, I'm in business with Warren Buffett. How great is that? So I emailed him, called his office, Debbie, who's been there forever, still there. And I said, hey, I'm in business with Warren Buffett. Would he have lunch with me, or, And she said, yeah, let me get back to you. So she called me back the next day and said, hey, why don't you come up in the next few weeks? I said, I'm there. So I went to Omaha, and I made that a ritual, right? But I thought the lesson that I got from that was, if you don't ask, you'll never know, right? But I think something to think about for athletes, right? I always like these comparisons because 2 things. Number one, you'll never see Warren Buffett say, hey, Joe Smith, I'm gonna play you for $5 million, 1-1. Or Warren Buffett would never come to Yankee Stadium and say, hey, I'm gonna pitch to you, Alex, I'm gonna strike you out, and if I do, $5 million. If you hit a home run, you give me 5. They stay in their sweet spot, right? In their circle of competence. One of the things that a lot of athletes like to do, because they can hit a baseball, because you can throw 100 miles an hour, okay, now I'm gonna go compete with the Warren Buffett like, and it's just such a mismatch. So that's where you get really crushed.
The competitive fire can sometimes work against you if you're out of your league, but Did they believe it was Alex Rodriguez when you first called, or did they say, yeah, we'll set up a lunch with you, with the Easter Bunny and Warren Buffett?
I think Debbie had to verify it a few times. You know what else is interesting? If we're a bunch of business guys and we're buying that building across the street, I'll call Nick and I say, hey, I have an asset, I want you to look at it, have your team look at it. Hey, Joe, let's look at this, blah, blah, blah. We need, $100,000. Why don't we all do 20,000? And it might be a yeah, or no, or hey, I'll let you know in a couple days. But the point is, we're collaborating and we're sharing information, and we don't need to have it all ourselves. There's a deal in sports, right? There's this DNA, this thought that, again, bravado, that's my deal. I'm not sharing it with anyone, I'm doing it myself. And you do it yourself, but then you don't have any horsepower. You can't share information. And there's a difference in the way people go about it in sports.
How much of what you're able to do and your knowledge of finances spills over into your private life? Do you have friends and family and maybe even J-Lo that says, hey, can you take a look at my financial situation too? Can you help me make sure that I'm spending my money wisely and investing properly?
Yeah, it happens a lot more than you would think. I mean, the one thing that every human being is interested in is they all want to learn a little bit more. They all want to save a little more. They all want to make a little more. That's a common theme across the board, but there is a sense of embarrassment, right? Because if you're an artist, if you're a baseball player, if you're a basketball player, you're not supposed to know about finances.
Yeah, you're not savvy in that area.
Right? So I think we all want to be a little better. We all want to coach. even Warren Buffett wants to get a little smarter. Nobody says, I've hit nirvana, I'm good.
I
right?
can't make any more.
I can't make any more, I've never heard that. So, yeah, I think, again, if we can have one goal in this whole CNBC and back in the game is, as a society, can we become more proactive and really understand for the next generation, can we teach this in junior high and high school? Because for me, it's one of the most important lessons that our kids can learn.
Did you read, were you able to read your contracts early on? Like, would you have understood that and by the way, it's not one piece of paper that goes, hey, you play for us and we'll pay you this. Did you understand the contract part? Because that's the other thing. They slip something under your nose, and if you're just used to swiping pen across something, who the hell knows what you're getting into?
Yeah, and the first contract, I was 24, 25 years old. I just, besides the bullets, I trusted my representation. Probably not the smartest thing, but thank God for me, everything worked out well. My second contract, I was a lot more involved. Actually, one was a big part of helping me negotiate that with the Steinbrenners and Goldman Sachs, and it was more of a deal that I did on my own.
That's great.
Awesome.